Good morning, Dawn.
Hey, good morning, Mandea.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
How about yourself? I think it's been a month or so.
Time flies by. And have a good amount of time for people to join. But good morning, everyone that's joining. Welcome.
No, come on. Mm.
Morning, Victor. Few people are coming in. Okay, more minutes, people are joining. For those of you here, if you want to please put in the chat your name, your role, that would be nice. And what you're looking to gain from this training today. Welcome, Darren. Thank you so much for joining.
Sure, pleasure to be here. Ooh, new hires. That's always excellent. So shout out for you guys for adding to the workforce.
Absolutely. So we have about 2 more minutes. Looking forward to our time together.
Do you want me to just jump in and kind of do our DBHR
Yes,
introduction piece?
please. Yes, please.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you, everybody. My name's Darren Paskey. I'm the Supportive Employment Program Manager with the HCA. This is one of our monthly webinars that we present in conjunction with Rutgers University. And today's topic is going to be direct skills teaching, teaching employment-related skills. And pleasure to have Mandaya with us today to do the training to really focus on defining skills and their components, describe employment-related skills and their impact on tenure and satisfaction, and applying the skills and training strategies to demonstrate interpersonal work skills. So Mandaya is a senior training and consultant specialist at Rutgers University in the Department of Psychiatric Rehabilitation and Counseling Profession. So thank you for being here and launching us into the training today, Mandaya.
Thank you so much, Darren. I appreciate it. So let's get into it. So before we start, I just want to please note that the use of automated note-taking bots or similar tools during the Washington State or FCS events or meetings requires prior approval. Unauthorized use of such tools is prohibited to ensure the privacy and confidentiality of all attendees. Also, any recording that is created through AI is not recognized as an official recording of this session. We reserve the right to exit trainees from the training if they are using AI to take notes without prior approval or using AI to record the session. Okay, so Darren already introduced me, so welcome everybody. So today we're going to start, go into defining skills and their components. We're going to describe employment-related skills, mostly soft skills, and how they impact the tenure and job satisfaction of the individuals we support. And finally, we're going to apply skills and strategies to demonstrate interpersonal work-related skills. So let's get right into it. So the first question I have for everybody is, what are skills, right? So what are skills? Like when we hear that word, skills, what comes to mind? How would we define it? Feel free to put in the chat. I think since we're a very small group, please feel free to unmute and, share or feel free to put in the chat.
Soft skills, hard skills, computer skills, customer service skills, basically the ability to do a task in a prescribed manner.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And so what do skills entail? What do skills entail? Lisa gave us some good examples of skills, but what do they actually entail? Anybody? Let's see if there's anything in the chat.
Would it be like abilities and trainings in order to do those skills? Or would it be
the knowledge you have? Yes, the knowledge plus the behavior, right? Excellent. Thank you, Lisa.
I'm pretty sure.
Can you define what you mean by what do skills entail?
So, for example, you just gave it, like an excellent example. You asked about, so a skill, it's not, so we are not referring to like when I'm asking what are skills, we're not talking about behavior. We're talking about behaviors, not attitudes. Okay. So the goal is to be able to observe it. So if someone has knowledge about a certain skill, they're able to use that knowledge in addition to the behavior so for example, if someone is going to ask for help, they will have the knowledge of how that is done in order to apply it, behavioral wise, where we are able to see it and be able to assess if this was done correctly or not.
To measure it.
Yes, absolutely, Beth. Thank you. So we have, let me see in the chat, knowledge, behavior for sure. Excellent. Thank you. So when we are going to speak to our supervisors, right, there's a skill that we're going to do. So when we're working with our individuals, so now we're going to go into, I think Lisa already named some examples of skills. So we're going to skip that and go into the components of a skill. So skills are behavioral. They're actions that can be seen or heard by others. So for example, if someone said they're communicating, right? Communication is some people, when we go on job interviews or our individuals would say, I have excellent communication skills. What does that actually look like? What does that mean, right? We know it's an action that can be heard or seen. Someone can yell and scream and use maybe inappropriate language, and they would say that's communicating effectively, right? Compared to someone may be able to effectively communicate maybe how their tone, the words that they're choosing, they may have a better outcome versus someone who may not communicate appropriately, right? So the purpose, also skills are purposeful, they're intentional. You want to have a specific outcome, so you apply a certain skill. For example, let's think of when we go for job interviews. What are we trying to accomplish when we go for a job interview? The purpose is that when we finish that job interview, we want the employer not to stop thinking about us and want to hire us. And so do we want that for our individuals, because we want to be able to present our qualification. So it's purposeful. We have a purpose of why we are applying that skill. Also, skills are generalizable. So it can be used in a variety of situations, not just maybe, let's take the skill asking for help. We can ask for help on the job, and we can also ask for help in social settings, right? And also a skill is compound, it's both a combination of knowledge and behaviors. And also skills are standardized, meaning there is an ideal way of doing it, right? So presenting qualifications, especially, we're going to come to that towards the end. Presenting your qualifications, mostly let's focus right now, just for the example, tell me about yourself question. And I'm sure some of you have had individuals that have gone on job interview, they don't know how to respond to that question, right? There is an ideal way of doing it. Some people would say, your education, experiences, and strengths. But for our individuals who've never been to a job interview, that would look different. They would think that they're asking about their personal life. So they may share too much information, and that can, make them not get that job. And finally, skills are stable, which can be seen in multiple observations. Okay. So we have skills, examples of employment settings. So we have the generic behaviors, like most employee will need these skills, right? To be show up on time to work, do not break, the company's policy, complete their assignments. Those would be generic, we'll consider to be generic. And personal behaviors will be interacting with coworkers. So some individuals are more introverted than others, but there's still a way that they may be able to have a good working relationship with their, coworkers. And the final one is critical skills are the skills that are essential to meeting the person's individualized goals. So being on time to every work shift. Some of our individuals may struggle with that. So supporting them to be able to be on time to work. So now let's talk about the difference between hard skills versus soft skills. So if you want to share, what would you consider to be hard skills? And how would you differentiate the two? I guess that's my question. Feel free to.
I'll give an example. A hard skill would be knowing how to use Microsoft Office.
Okay.
Like knowing how to use Word or knowing how to use Excel. A soft skill might be being able to teach it in a way that doesn't intimidate others.
Okay. So
Actually,
hard
teaching
skill.
is probably a hard skill too.
Excellent. So I hear you're saying hard skill is the technical piece of it. And the soft skill is being able to show someone how to do it. Is that if I
Sure.
got it? Okay. And I see Holly said hard skill is tactical, soft skills interpersonal, cannot see it.
Well, then
Okay. Any
also,
other? Mhm.
also too, with a soft skill, it has to do with, shoot, how to say it. I'll put it in the chat in a second. It went out of my mind.
Okay, that's okay. So how do we acquire these skills? How do we acquire soft skills and how do we acquire hard skills?
So I think this is Lisa, by the way. There's 3 of us in the group that's under Lisa, and this is actually Lisa. I would say that soft skills are learned and hard skills maybe are kind of hardwired in, like you've known how to do them for a long time. Am I way off?
No.
They're top.
I feel like soft skills.
By the way, that's Jessica talking.
Yeah, this is Jessica Corey Butler.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi. I feel like soft skills are kind of like the emotional mom of the situation, and hard skills are kind of like the factual dad of the situation. And I
like
don't know if
that, yeah.
that's
I see. You just have a way with words.
She does, that's why I'm not talking.
That's excellent. The way of putting it, and it's easier, but probably for others to remember. Yeah. So soft skills are the ones that we acquire, we learn about with time and practice, or hard skills are technical to actually get the work done, right? So we acquire that also with experience, with actually doing it. So for example, we are clinical, some of you are counselors, clinical clinicians, employment specialists. Think of, what your hard skills are and what your soft skills are, right? And did you acquire them overnight? No, I'm sure it took, it was a process, and you're probably still acquiring more. I see in the chat, Beth said, soft skills when you can choose the best thing to do in this situation. Excellent. So what am I going to do in this situation? So hard skills are required to complete the task, right? And soft skills are, what employees would use to, like Lisa said, to almost like complete the work by just a process of doing it. So did anybody share some examples of hard skills? I think Lisa did, about software, computer software. So soft skills complement hard skills, which represent the technical requirements of a job, right? So soft skills empower individuals in the workforce to communicate and collaborate effectively with coworkers, supervisors, and also soft skills promote teamwork and also develops creativity and job satisfaction. So workers with adequate soft skills have better opportunity for career development. And some of you can attest to this. Some of our individuals are excellent with the hard skills, like they have no issues getting the work done. However, maybe supervisors have reported that your individuals are struggling with the soft skills piece of it, right? So maybe not being able to effectively ask for help or communicate with coworkers effectively or take feedback. They may take it so personal that they may walk out of the job or things like that. So some of our individuals do struggle with the soft skills piece of it. And if anybody wants to share unmute and share what your experiences have been, having an individual who is excellent with getting the work done, but is struggling with their soft skills area.
This is Jessica again. I'll throw out my daughter was working well, she was working in a public capacity. She was great at doing the work side of things, but she was let go because people thought she was rude. The thing is, she was doing her job. She was telling them, "No, sorry, it's not ready yet." But her approach wasn't gentle enough and delicate enough, and she wasn't friendly enough to make the people feel happy about their product being late.
Excellent example, Jessica. So your daughter is able to do the task, but it's her approach to the, other social, how she manages social situations. It's not pleasing to the, the employer, but she's not doing anything. It didn't sound like she's doing anything wrong, right? Thank you for that example. Anybody else? Let me see in the chat. So I have
Oh.
from, okay, yes, I'm here.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, this is Lisa, and I was just gonna say, we had a teammate once, she's no longer here, but who could do her job, but she always came in with her arms crossed, like she was mad. Her body language was always very angry and agitated, and you had no idea why, like you couldn't figure out why, but I had a lot of complaints by clients about that. So
Like RBF. RBF is like
yeah.
a soft skill that you don't necessarily want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's an excellent example. So another one, she knew how to do her job, but because the type of services you're providing, it requires that people skills, right? That soft skills to be able to invite people in and not look all, serious, like that affect was showing something else. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. And I see in the chat that soft skills in a way are much more complex and hard to master. And Beth says they often lack the ability to read the room. Excellent. These are all great examples. So now let's take a moment to pause and think about this. What are some critical work-related soft skills required for your individuals you support to be successful on their jobs? What has come up for you in providing services for your like what have you seen?
Active listening.
Okay, active listening. Anyone else?
Positive approach.
See that?
No?
They can't see that.
Positive approach.
Positive approach. Could you define that a little more? Can you expand?
Define it a little more.
Just when you're approaching clients or whatever, whatnot, just having a positive manner and making sure that your body language isn't in a negative.
There's also one of our tenets is
Excellent.
unconditional positive regard. So
Excellent.
just knowing, that the person feels like you like them. The person doesn't feel like there's a wall up that, you're judging them.
Okay, great. Anybody else? I think we have some stuff. Some people put in the chat, friendly and positive attitude, ready to learn and work, teamwork, being able to collaborate with others, respect, time management, all excellent. Any more? Don't employers love taking initiative, right? They love that when we walk in, they're like, oh, the client is doing such a great job. They're taking initiative. They have such, and they're enthusiastic about the work that they're doing. They're reliable, they're dependable. So I had an individual, he would take an Uber on a snowstorm to get to Burlington to work hard. And all the other employees would call out and say, I can't get there. But he was so resourceful. He knew he wanted to be at work, rain or shine, snowstorm or not. And he would take an Uber to get there, right? So he was dependable. They had no doubt. He was also flexible. So these are what our employers are looking for. These are some of our individuals may thrive in these areas. And then there are some of our individuals that may struggle with these areas. And then the question is, how do we support them through that? right? How do we teach them these soft skills? That they are excellent at their work. When they're there, they're getting it done, but then they're not probably flexible. They don't have that teamwork. They don't know how to, work in a team. They don't have excellent communication. Okay. So we're going to move into this activity where we're going to, I'm sorry, I have something, case study, role play. Excellent, Beth. Yes, those are excellent ways to teach individuals soft skills. So let's take the first scenario of John. So do we have time to put in everybody? It's only 3. We'll do it together in a group right now. So let's take a moment to think about this scenario. Let's take scenario 1, for example. We have John who works at a store clerk at ShopRite. What are some of John's hard skills that he would need to be successful? And what are some soft skills? If we could identify some. Okay, Shannon said customer service skills is a big one. Definitely. Yep. So customer service skills, I want you to define it a little more. Let's expand on it. Let's break it down a little bit more. Active listening, great. Hard skills, math, excellent. How to run the register, excellent. Ability to tailor service to clients' needs, great. Understanding appropriate behaviors and boundaries, excellent. So now, know your product, very good. So I want us to pause verbal communication. Great. These are all excellent points that you're sharing in the chat, and I really appreciate it. And also feel free to unmute and speak. It would be nice to hear your voice. So let's take a minute to talk about understanding appropriate behavior and boundaries. What does that look like? And has anybody are you currently dealing with the problems such as that with an individual who has boundary issues? If yes,
I
please share.
I'm working in housing. There had been times when the client wanted to be kind of like a friend and like friend me on Facebook, things like that. And it's like, no. I have to create a professional line between, my job is to help you and like act like a friend would act, but I'm not your friend. Like that it's hard to articulate what that boundary is, but that boundary has to be there. And again, that unconditional positive regard thing, like we do act like a person would want to have, in their life as a friend, but we're 9 to 5.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that example. Was that Lisa or Jessica?
It was Jessica.
Jessica, thank you. And I see Kathleen, you have your hand up. Do you want to share? Okay, I thought I saw Kathleen had her hands up. Okay,
I
then
would
we have in the
add maybe in terms of understanding appropriate
Somehow
behavior
we
and boundaries,
need
I
a
would
full
say like understanding when you're oversharing or sharing things that aren't appropriate for a professional environment as opposed to a personal environment.
Excellent. Can you give us an example? Did you ever experience that with an individual?
So I work in pre-eds. So I'm working with students prior to employment to train for employment. And so when we're doing a lot of that training in the classroom, there does seem to be a disconnect of understanding what's appropriate to say in a professional environment versus a school or a personal environment. And then working alongside the employment specialists at the company that I work at, I hear often that in interviews, there's a common feature of oversharing or not knowing when to stop talking.
Yes.
And just to start asking questions or to listen.
Excellent. That's an excellent example because what is happening is probably our individuals are feeling nervous, right? If it's a job that they cannot stop talking or oversharing. Sometimes that end up sabotaging the interview and they end up not getting the job. So that's an excellent example. Thank you so much. And Holly mentioned an important one, emotional regulation, especially at a place at ShopRite. How do we manage that? How, for an individual who is a store clerk, you're going to have customers who are kind, customers who are rude, customers who want their way and they want it now, right? And having those soft skills in order to manage that. And if you're someone who struggles with emotional regulation, you can actually end up getting terminated from your job, because if you scream at the customer because you're frustrated, that is probably grounds for getting terminated. When I worked as a job coach, I supported my individual. He had this customer that seemed to upset him all the time because she had a routine. He would put the cards away nicely. She would come. She has to take, I think, about 10 cards and move them to the side because I think she's looking for a specific one. And that drove him, oh my gosh, nuts. So he would start jumping up and down. What is she doing? So I would say, breathe, calm down, because, I understood his frustration, but again, it's that the customer is always right. So we're not going to be able to, so being able to get across to him that we cannot control what she's going to do. However, we have to find a ways to manage it. So if you don't want to be present when she's moving the carts, and maybe go, focus on a different task. And once she leaves, you could come back and put the cart away. So that's just an example of that. And in the chat, Kathleen has the example I was going to provide is have a participant who just got a position as a residential assistant in substance TX facility. He is learning about appropriate boundaries with clientele as he lived, sorry, I missed it. Kathleen, can you see if you can unmute? I think you're typing and okay, somebody else typed, sorry. He's learning about appropriate boundaries with the clientele as his lived experience provide good support for them, but oversharing or personalizing his role is important to be aware. Excellent, this is great. And another one, oversharing seems to be a common theme with my customers. They are desperate to connect with anyone who might be supportive of their struggles or can relate to their story. I'm struggling to convey empathy without being too sympathetic. We have to teach them to not overshare and not expect everyone to be their friend. The workplace demands professionalism. I love that. Thank you so much, everyone, and Darren said, hi, everyone, just a friendly, okay. Okay, thank you, Darren, for that.
I don't think I'm a host, so I can't remove it from attendance. It looks like
Oh, I'm sorry, Darren. Let me fix that and then we can continue.
it's Justin's AI note taker that I need to remove from the meeting.
Okay. So, let me see if I can make you a host now. Okay. I just did. Okay. So now let's move to scenario 2 about Jeanette. So Jeanette, who works as a receptionist at a nonprofit organization. So let's please list some soft and hard skills that would be helpful for Jeanette to be successful on her job. Feel free to unmute, put in the chat. Okay, so
She would have to,
Which one?
oh, sorry, on
Scenario
scenario 2
two.
we're talking about, right?
yes,
Some softer
Jeanette.
hard skills. She would have to be able to have good customer service skills because she's
Yes.
working at the front desk, so friendly,
Professionalism.
organized, professional. I would say that's some of them. Also dress appropriately.
Excellent, yes, important.
Computer skills.
Yeah, computer skills, phone skills. Yeah.
Excellent.
Great.
These are all great examples, and I see we have a lot
Organization.
in the chat. I'm sorry, Jessica. Oh, was it Lisa?
That was Heather who said organization.
Okay,
this is-
thank you, Heather.
Sorry, we have to talk a lot because we can't really access the keyboard because we're sharing one laptop. And
okay.
so we're
I
like a
appreciate
group
that.
of parents.
No, it's okay. That's great. So I see in the chat we have hard skill learning how to use multi-line phones,
Sorry.
phone etiquette. That's important, right? Hard skills, answering phones, typing, scheduling, great. Smiling, tone modulation, manners, excellent. We have multitasking. We have phone computer skills, filing, multitasking and prioritization of tasks, able to multitask, attentive, listening, and possibly trauma-informed care practices. Excellent.
Depending on the nonprofit. I mean, nonprofit can be anything from
Mhm.
Sorry, depending on the nonprofit, different soft skills will vary, right? Because it can be anything from working with animals to working with the houseless community, or so those soft skills are going to vary.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And now let's move to scenario 3. Tom works as a maintenance clerk at an office. What are some hard and soft skills he would need to succeed on the job? And has anybody experienced, have an individual they're presently working with around this area?
Yes, we at Critical Time Intervention Pierce County, we do direct employment services with the folks that are in our program who may want employment assistance as well. We do housing primarily.
Okay.
So that's why we're here. We're really excited to be here as well. Sorry, kind of off the topic, but and this is Lisa.
Lisa, thank you. Thank you. So, I see communication time management. That's critical for being a maintenance clerk. What other soft skills? I know some people think maybe maintenance clerk, they just focus on their task. They don't really need to talk to people. Is that true? Not really. It depends on the work setting, right? So this is an office setting. So let's think about it. Customer service, verbal communication, excellent, Handy. Beth says triage the calls, excellent, okay. Prioritizing task / request, attention to detail, very important, attention to detail. So let's say we have an individual who is now learning how to work as a maintenance clerk. What would that look like of paying attention to detail? He goes in the room, there's so many things that he has to clean. Each office looks different, right? It's different and they have different needs. Maybe the similar thing is empty the garbage can, vacuum. Mhm.
Sorry, they said trust.
Trust, okay. Yes, important. People do leave their valuable stuff in their offices.
But
I-
also, what I've noticed from different maintenance clerks that we had at different places that I worked, sometimes the expectation is you clean everything around every workspace. Sometimes the workspaces aren't cleaned because they need to be left. So having that, the listening skills dictates what details you overlook and what details you pay attention to.
Yes, that's true. That's a great point you brought up, Lisa. That's true. So now let's see, we have in the chat, safety practices and privacy practices within the office setting. That's a great one. Being able to deviate from routine based on what is going on in the office, right? So if the individual has to clean an office, and he usually cleans it at 4 o'clock, but then he goes out 4 and there's a meeting, right? With that, he would have to deviate. Flexibility, excellent. These are great. So we have Jeanette, John, Jeanette, and Tom would love to have us as employment specialists or job coaches or clinicians to help them to be successful, because I think we came up with great tasks for them. Now we're going to talk about how are we going to help them with, what the only thing is how we're going to help them, achieve all of this. So let's now move into talking about some barriers impacting individuals with disabilities in achieving, their employment or educational employment goals that they're lacking within the soft skills area. What are some of the barriers impacting them to acquire these soft skills for either educational or employment goals?
I'm just gonna say, this is Jessica. As an
Hi,
individual with ADHD, you're gonna be shocked by this, but I blurt, I interrupt. And it's not, it's definitely a soft skill. It's definitely something that I work on as far as like my communication skills, as far as active listening and that kind of thing. But also autistic people, they have some similar communication difficulties. And I think, first of all, clarity, being very clear with transparency, to be able to say like, hey, I have ADHD, it's a skill that I have, but it's also a limitation. So bear with me when I'm interrupting you. It's not because I don't want to hear what you're saying. It's because of how my brain is wired, right? So I think when we are working with people who have invisible disabilities, it's important for them to at least disclose a little bit, whatever they're comfortable disclosing, so that get them comfortable with it, so that they are understood, so that they are embraced in the community as opposed to shunned.
Excellent, Jessica. That's a great point that you raised. I like the fact that you were able to use yourself as an example and how you manage that, so people don't take it as personally as if it's you being, inconsiderate or rude. It's just how how your brain functions and how you're communicating at that point. Excellent. So I see in chat we have a lot. Anything else, Jessica? Did I cut you? I apologize.
Well, no, this is Lisa. So because there's 3 of us here, so I just wanted to say we work with the homeless population. So a big barrier that we run into regularly is that our folks don't always have a place to go clean themselves up and prepare, and they're in survival mode. So it's really hard to plan a lot of the things like the interview and feel good about it with lack of sleep, and you're just in survival. So that's a huge barrier we run into in the work that we do.
And to add to that, a lot of times trauma, I saw trauma in the in the comments. Trauma is a disability. Like we have to understand that people who are going through trauma are going to act and behave as as a person who has a disability. So we, one of our soft skills as people working with people is to be able to understand that, trauma is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you. And I see we have a lot in the chat. We have fear of new environments, people tasked. I have some with traumatic brain injuries, enlightenment, or how they process input or stimulation affecting their barrier. I have found that self-advocacy a barrier for a lot of individuals. That is so true. Our individuals do struggle with advocating for themselves. For some reason, either they may feel that if they do, they'll either get in trouble or people will get upset with them. Michael, do you want to unmute and share a little bit more about, I have found that self-advocacy is a barrier for a lot of individuals.
Sure. So being able to advocate for oneself can be difficult. So if you're being asked to do something that's outside your job description, sometimes a lot of clients will defer and just say okay without really advocating for themselves. Or if they need assistance with something, asking for help can be difficult. If they need time off, stating in a clear and concise way, these are the needs that I have to be able to be successful at work. It can be difficult for some people, anybody, but especially individuals with disabilities, to be able to advocate for themselves like that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that example. And that's true. Our individuals do struggle around advocating for themselves. And Nikki, if you want to unmute to share more about stigma, it's a huge barrier as well, because I think a lot of us can relate to our individuals having that experience.
Yeah, for sure. In my experience with supportive employment, trying to connect clients with employers, just the stigma around our folks with disabilities that, you know, that they're incapable, or just, I don't want to say all the negative things, but, you know, dealing with that and really trying to educate the employer, you know, to say that this person is capable and deserves a chance. So just the stigma that comes behind, you know, being a person with a disability. We run into that almost on a daily basis. So, and we work really hard to break down those stigmas, and then when we get the client in there and they're working and they're doing well, then the employer's like, wow, you know, maybe we should have done this, you know, a year or two ago. And we're like, exactly. So just the stigma that people face is tough right now.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nikki. And I see Holly, if you want to unmute to talk more about changes in routine isn't always easy for customers, so flexibility can be tough. If you can mute. I know some people are struggling with their, you know, the microphone. Is it Dixie? Did you want to talk, did you want to elaborate on lack of understanding on how to self-advocate? Okay, we talked about that. And Tandy, do you want to talk about lack of confidence in their abilities beyond their routine or normal environment? Before we move?
Yeah, a lot of individuals, depending on their history, may feel they're very pigeonholed and not, and their disability precludes them being able to be successful outside of their normal environment. So helping them do the mind shift that they can be empowering them to reach for those opportunities and grow beyond what is their norm can be very challenging for some.
I'm sure, definitely. Yes, it's true, because it takes time, right? Doesn't mean they can't. And I think earlier, I want to say Beth put in the chat through role play, or, you know, role play and case studies are helpful in supporting our individual to empower them, build these skills to be
Yeah.
successful, but it can also be challenging. It's new to them, right?
Yeah,
Because
sometimes just taking it in small steps, getting them to just expand their boundaries a little bit at a time, and but also realizing it isn't going to be, oh yes, you are capable of working, let's get you into that job. And it doesn't happen that fast with a lot of these individuals. It has to be, okay, well, let's get you out of the house, let's get you doing this, let's expand your activities, and slowly building that confidence level back up.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much, Tandy. And one thing I've also noticed when I worked with, directly with individuals is that some family members, or, you know, service professionals kind of impacted their ability to use these soft skills, because they always talked for them, right? They always jumped. They were so quick. I think the fact that it's quicker if they go in and, you know, express how the individual's, you know, strengths and barriers, like, and not empowering the individual to actually, you know, deal with themselves, to express themselves. So they get used to other people jumping in and doing it for them, that it now becomes almost like it becomes a skill deficit for them, right?
This is
Yeah.
Lisa. I just wanted to say really quick that mental health as well can be a big barrier. I have a really quick example if I can talk about it briefly.
Yes, yes.
So I had a client who got a job at one of the local thrift stores, and I saw him like a couple days later, and I said, how's the job going? And he goes, I got fired. And I said, well, what happened? And he said, well, they didn't like what I was wearing. I said, what were you wearing? And he said he was wearing his pajamas. And I said, oh, I said, why did you think that it was okay to wear pajamas to work? And he said, well, the customers wear pajamas when they come in. So, but I guess, you know, his reaction when they said that to him wasn't good. So they fired him on the spot. And that was directly related to his mental health.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. That's an excellent example. So he was going by, he thought it was okay because he saw the customers doing it.
Yep.
But- So now so about 40% of adults with disability in their prime working years, which is between 25 and 54, have a job versus 79% of all prime adults, right? And 80% of individuals with serious mental health are unemployed. So that's huge, right? So for 2020, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported much lower labor force participation rate for people with disabilities compared with people without disabilities. So the proportion of population that is employed for those without a disability was 66.3% in 2019 and 19.1% for people with a disability. So the employment population ratio for people with disability ages 16 to 64 was substantially lower. So it was like 30.9% than for people without disabilities. So that's huge. So our individuals with disabilities are experiencing a much lower rate in the workforce than people without disabilities. So now I want us to think about some soft skills that you've taught your individuals. So let's take a moment to think about some of the has anybody here taught soft skills to your individuals on the job? If so, please share what the soft skills was and how you taught them those skills. And if not, it's okay too. Some of you may have, either when preparing the person to go on a job interview, or it could have been how the person to react in social settings at the job, or maybe just in general social situations. Please feel free to either put in the chat, unmute. It would be nice to hear more voices.
I had some time teaching soft and hard skills, but it was the soft skills in customer service. And there was a scenario that we played through where I had 3 people go outside of the room, and then I gave a Band-Aid, an antacid, and an aspirin to 3 different people. And then the people out in the hall were instructed to enact, what would you need to do to get a Band-Aid? What would you need to do to get this anyway? So it was the ability to take, so
She works at Cube Land.
either thing could be used to fix what was going on, but there was one that was more correct. That was the better choice. And that was the lead in for dealing with difficult customers, which is you could do lots of different things, but what's the best choice? And then leading them through to, this is the choice that we would like you to make. And this is, since we're paying you, this is the choice that we want you to make most often.
Excellent. So I like the fact that you created that scenario and then you gave them 3, and but you were able to work with them to identify the best option you want them to use in that situation. That's excellent, Beth. Thank you so much for sharing. Holly, do you want to unmute, or are you unable to? Okay. So I think if you can't, it's okay. I think you have in the chat. I have talked. Mhm.
I was just saying that I don't extensively work with our customers. I'm more of like the front face of the office. But I do see them a lot, so I don't get to spend a lot of time teaching them. But sometimes when they come in and they say things that they would, we focus on employment, obviously. So when they say things that they should not say in a workplace while they're in the office, then I take that as a learning opportunity and talk to them about, you know, that's not something you want to walk in to an office or an interview or a potential employer and say stuff like that. So,
Excellent. So
tiny teaching opportunities, I guess.
I was about to say, you use that window of opportunity to teach them some soft skills, and that's excellent. Great. And I have Tony. If you want to unmute, it would be nice. If not, that's okay. I see you have in the chat, keeping program participants on track when collecting information without making them feel dismissed. That's a great one. Mhm.
If I can. Hi, this is Lisa. I don't know if this would count because it's kind of pre getting the job, but I help people with their resumes a lot. And so just teaching them what how to list the skills we talked about and how to basically advertise yourself to try to
Yes.
sell yourself,
Mhm. That is,
yeah.
of course, well, soft skill is not only on the job, right? It's to get into the job and keeping the job, right? So it's all of that is included. So thank you, Lisa. And I
Thank
see
you.
oversharing. It's a recurring theme that most of you have been bringing up. Individuals oversharing, utilize multiple conversations with clients, and use examples of the types of information that would be appropriate in a private or personal environment versus workplace environments. Excellent. Okay, that's okay, Tony. So we're gonna go now, we're gonna do a fun activity, and this one, just let's all kind of like think about it. Think about all the steps involved in doing laundry without actually doing the task, right? Like if you were to teach somebody how to do laundry, what are all the steps you're going to come up with? Let's take like what, 2 to 3 minutes to think about this. Write it down. We're gonna all talk about it. What would that look like if you're teaching someone how to do laundry? I know we all have our own ways, but it would be nice for us to put it all together. So let's take 2 minutes to do this activity. All right, are we ready? Do we think we're ready to come back? Or do we need one more minute? Okay, I'd like to bring everyone back, and in no, particular order, anyone can share what some of the steps that he came up with to do, like, you could share a couple of maybe one or two, and somebody else can share, and let's see how we can put it together.
So if I can just like before we begin, it's interesting to me that between the three of us, we all had different approaches because, Lisa was thinking about like, oh no, how are our clients doing it? Meanwhile, for me, I'm like, gather the dirty laundry, sort the dirty laundry, sort out the smells, the types, whatever, and then use whatever products to whatever. But then if you're doing it for like you're going to the laundromat, it's different skill sets, it's different items or different steps involved based on your perspective and where you're doing it. So it's a very interesting activity from that side of things. So yeah, that's my feedback for now,
Thank you,
part
Lisa.
of it.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, this was Jessica.
You're getting where I'm going with this. Tandy, if you want to unmute and share, I liked you have it nicely outlined. 5 steps?
7.
6. Okay.
And as Lisa said, it does depend on the environment, the machine, but typically a great way to teach it is identify from the clothing labels what type temperatures are needed and sort your clothing that way. And then confirm there's nothing in the pockets, because we all hate to wash that one thing that got melted and created a mess. Place the clothes in the washer about half full or less. Place soap in with the laundry, and of course, depending on the type of soap being used or whether there's a dispenser, you'd have to make some adjustments there. If desired, add laundry softener, as again, according to the machine instructions. Set the washer to the proper setting, which depending on the temperature or the machine itself, that, it what I did at home with my younger children was I put a star with a permanent marker next to the desired setting that I like them to use. And so they knew to just turn it to that setting and press start, and then close the lid and press start. Depending on the machine and the type of laundry you have, there could be some variances in there, but I try to be I write a lot of these types of instructions, and so I'm really good at step-by-steps.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sandy, for sharing. So now I want us to think of our individuals, and I see in the chat, Tony has make sure you have soap, gather laundry, prioritize what it needs washing first, sort accordingly, begin washing. Now for our individuals, this probably would be a lot of steps for them, right? So if one of our individuals that we are helping around work and they got this job that they're responsible to do laundry, how do we teach them all of these that we've just discussed in 4 major steps? How do we condense it to 4 major steps they can remember? Cass, I see all the steps. So now see, you have 12 steps and they're all great. How do we condense it to 4 steps? Because for our individuals, more than likely, they're not going to remember most of these steps. But what would be the 4 critical steps you would want them to know to complete that task? So now this one is technical. This is not a soft skill, but we're going somewhere with this.
I think preparation, setup, start, and completion.
Excellent. So within that each category, I love that, Tandy. Within each category, you may be able to fit in a few steps within them, right?
And they
Great.
could be done at different times.
Yes.
I mean, you could do preparation in the morning and then set up around lunchtime, and then the start in the afternoon and the completion in the evening. So it just depended on, again, the environment, why they're doing it, and what needs to be done. But
Excellent. Great. Great job, everyone. Thank you for the contribution. So now we're going to the Boston University Direct Skills Teaching approach. And so the essential aspects of direct skills teaching include employment-related soft skills training for persons with disability. So which includes establishing the individual's overall rehabilitation goal that the person is interested in achieving, only teaching the assessed critical skills to get and keep that goal, and modifying, the lessons to reflect the person's learning, or the partnership between either the clinician or the job coach or the employment specialist. So the direct skills teaching instructions include a use of very highly structured teaching curriculum that includes like detailed lesson plans for each part of the target skill and the in-session practice of the skill. So the direct skills teaching method for teaching its individuals with disability is seen to be effective. So where teaching is used as a treatment modality and incorporates some principles from behavioral and social learning theories, okay? So now we're going into, so for the direct skills teaching, a skill must be able to be, you could see that, you can see it, you can measure it. So it's always focused, it's mostly focused on outcome of the behavioral change. Is subdivided into maximum of major only 4 behaviors or steps. And they do infuse the body of knowledge, what the person knows about the skill. And a skill that is learned and used will make the difference in getting and keeping the job, right? So we want to be able to teach the skill incorporating mostly that 4 major step, behaviors is called in the direct skills teaching. So now let's take this approach, the 5 elements of teaching. So when we're teaching a skill with our individuals, so we did the laundry example, right? And we had so many steps in that, like some people had 10, some people had 7, 20, I mean, not 20, 12, but it could be up to 20. And I think they were all valid because when we're doing stuff, there's so many steps, but for our individuals, because some of them focus is very limited, like they cannot remember, they may not be able to remember all of the steps, and they may easily be turned off from task if it's so much steps to remember. So if you're trying to teach them skills that they're going to be successful on the job, whether it's hard or soft skills, it's good to kind of have it in these, like in a very condensed way. So if 5 elements of teaching the skill, the individual can remember, right? So what is the name of the skill? So we said, we started off with doing laundry, right? So that name of the skill would be completing or doing washing laundry. What would be how would we define that task? Doing laundry. How do we define doing laundry? What would be a good definition for that? Right? And so the definition is, washing dirty clothes to make sure they're clean. I mean, it could define it in a way that the individual can understand. And what is the benefit of doing laundry, washing dirty laundry? You get clean clothes to wear, right? And what would be 4 behaviors that we can incorporate? So for example, Tandy had given us preparation. Tandy, what did you say? Preparation, completion, and I know you did 4 categories.
Preparation, setup, start, and completion.
Excellent. So preparation, start, completion, and I'm sorry.
Setup is in
Setup.
between.
Excellent. So performance condition, when does the person, like, what environment is the person having to complete this task? It can happen at work, right? It could be for a job. It could be for their own, personal need when their clothes are not clean. So Tandy said definition is critical. I took washing laundry very literal as only washing clothes, but it would need to include drying and putting away. Excellent. So let's now try to let's try to talk about this communication. based off what we just learned about the 5 elements and what we know about Boston direct skills teaching approach, the Boston University direct skills teaching, would communication, just the word communication, is that something that can be, isn't it so general? That would be too general, right? So how do we break that down? Communication, how do we break this down and make it more to fit into that approach of how can we assess communication and how do we see it? Okay, excellent. Tandy said verbal or written is often common breakdowns. How about teamwork? How do we see teamwork? Someone can say, I completed the box with, John, and we put up the stuff away, but how did they complete it? Was it teamwork? Like, how do we assess teamwork? Anybody? Feel free to unmute, share, put into chat. Thank you so much, Tony. You too. I see verbal, nonverbal, written, visual. So teamwork, what would that look like? And what is positive attitude look like? Work ethics, critical thinking. Those are very general when we're using the direct skills teaching approach. We would have to break it down, right? We would have to, so communicating effectively in order to make a request to have time off. That would be a skill you can see because there's an outcome that they are trying to achieve, which is to get a time off, right? So the second one is teamwork, working collaboratively with my colleague in order to complete a project. So it's more specific. There's a goal, there's a purpose, it's intentional, right? Positive attitude. What is positive attitude? So broad. So showing positive attitude towards hard or difficult tasks in order to be successful on my job, right? So it would have to definitely be broken down. Work ethic. What does work ethic, we sometimes use that when we go for a job interview. I have excellent work ethics. It's too general. What would fall under work ethics?
Showing up on time.
Excellent, Lisa. Showing up on time. What else?
Completing everything that's required of your position.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
Task.
Excellent. So now consistency, I see that. That's great. And now let's think about critical thinking. That's another one which is so general. But if we were trying to, fall into the Boston University direct skills teaching approach, critical thinking, what does that look like? There would be like, what is that? It's too general. How do you see critical thinking? Because the goal is we should be able to see it. We should be able to assess it. If the person did it right or wrong, what are we using to assess critical thinking? Okay, ability to work through such solutions with customer call center to resolve their problem. Excellent. Anything else? Love it. Critical thinking. How do we say our individuals said, I'm applying my critical thinking, and you're like, how do you, look at it and say, yes, you did great, or you improved in your critical thinking skills. Excellent. Identifying steps to solution. Great. Excellent. So now we're going to go into examples of commonly needed soft skills at work. So Professor Dr. Janice Osler, and she's also the director of the master's program of psychiatric rehabilitation counseling professions, and psychiatric rehabilitation counseling clinical mental health track. And she developed this curriculum around these soft skill areas on, using the direct skills teaching approach, which is presenting qualification, conversing with others, asking for help, responding to feedback. The curriculum is excellent. It can be taught either with your individuals or like individually with your individuals that you help, or in a group. So I've included her information at the end of the slide for anybody who would want to reach out to her to ask permission to see if you want to, you know, have her content on what she developed on employment related soft skills and how to actually step by step teach these soft skills to your individuals. I think it's excellent and it's phenomenal and it's much needed in our field line of work. So presenting qualification, conversing with others, asking for help, and responding to feedback. We're going to spend the remaining of our time working in small groups to be able to come up with using the 5 elements of the skill, naming of the skill, definition of the skill, benefits of the skill, behaviors of the skills. So I want you to only come up with 4 steps on how you're going to teach this skill and what performance condition it's going to be for each skill that, you know, you're assigned to. So I only have 4, and we have 30 people on the call. Darren, how do you want us to do this? I know some people they're in a group already with their colleagues. They're attending in groups.
Yeah,
So
I would try to keep those groups together because they've been working pretty well so far with the discussions. If that's
yes, yeah. So I'm trying to see. I think one was workforce and then Lisa. I don't know if there's anybody else. And I'm gonna put in the chat, I have the activity sheet. Does anybody have any questions? Or would people prefer to work in the larger group here? Because I don't want to lose anybody and I want everyone to please stay with me. You know, sometimes. Let's see. I'm
I
gonna
know
put
they're
in,
pretty dynamic.
okay. Okay, I put into chat, Darren. Let me know if you can open it, if everybody else could open it. Okay, Holly feels the whole group has been working well. Okay, it's just I'm trying to figure out, okay, if everybody, we could stay on the whole group to do the activity, because I know I lost some people already when I said that. And I don't want to lose any more people. So I want us to all benefit from this activity so we can stay on. The only thing is, how are we going to break unless everybody want to kind of like take each one? You want to practice all of them? Because that's the thing. I don't want everybody to kind of do the same thing, right? Darren, what is your suggestion?
I think this group has been pretty dynamic, and historically, when you break into groups kind of towards the end, I think we do lose some of the people as well. It looks like for the document piece, it looks like I have to download it before I can open it up.
Yes, yes.
Loading.
Yeah. So do you want us to just keep everybody in? Oh, Cass is on. Okay, cannot open it. That's okay. You're gonna get it in an email, the training materials anyway, but for this activity, I have the slides on. So do you think we should keep everybody on or here, or just break them into groups and they'll be fine?
I think with the large group, I think
Yeah, the large group. Okay, so we're gonna
Well,
stay
dynamic.
here in the large group because I want to make sure we all can work together on this. Do you suggest everybody just tackle each skill, or because I was trying to break it up into some people may you know identify. Okay, I think what I'm just gonna do is some people, if you're comfortable, pick a skill. So when we come back, you can tell me what skill you chose to work on. I know Lisa, you're in a group of 4 or 3 people. So your group, if you wanted to pick presenting qualification, pick a group, choose something. Then everybody else, you could also choose a topic. So you could choose presenting qualification, conversing with others, asking for help, responding to feedback. The instructions are in the paper. Okay, so we're staying
Name of
on,
the skill, definition.
yes. Name of the skill, definition of the skill, benefits of the skill, behaviors of the skill, the 4 steps on how you're going to teach if you pick presenting qualification, conversing with others, asking for help, or responding to feedback, and what performance condition it's, what environments can the person use the skill. So I'll give us about, we're almost at time, so I'll say about 7 minutes. Is that a good time, Darren? So we can have enough time to go over and then
Yes,
conclude. Okay,
that works.
okay. Thank you. Okay, do people feel comfortable? Are we almost done? Is it a good time to think about, wrapping it up? Okay, we have like 1 more minute and then we can process together. Okay, is it a good time to come back? If you're ready, for those of you who did presenting qualifications, if you want to share what you came up with, the name of
Okay.
Lisa?
I'm so sorry. By the way, I just want to share this, and this is so bad, but all three of us sitting at this table at Critical Time Intervention Pierce County suffer from ADHD. And we love each other and we play with each other about it. But anyway, so I apologize. I did not mean to interrupt you.
That's
Were you done?
Are you
So
done
I
with
s-
presenting qualification? You chose presenting qualifications?
Yeah, so we have all the numbers. Do you want me to go down the numbers or? I mean,
Yeah, so you could go down with what the name of the skill, of course, is presenting qualification. Now, if you want to share what you came up with definition of the skill.
Yeah, so I think we got a little confused because we chose communication as the topic, as the skill. So I think we kind of misunderstood, but what was the second part of that after that? Let me see. Yeah. So the skill we chose was communication. I'm sorry, that's how we messed up, I think.
Oh, okay. So it had to be either presenting qualification, conversing with others, asking for help,
Oh
responding
yeah,
back.
the
So you
presenting
chose
qualifications.
conversing.
Yeah,
You
we
chose-
chose the skill one, but we focused in on communication.
Oh, okay. Not tell me about yourself. That's okay. So tell me what you
Yeah.
came. That's fine.
Okay, so the second one, are you able to put that back so I can see the second one? I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
And then the definition, we did the definition. You put them in the wrong order.
I know.
A mess. The definition is basically effectively getting your message across to somebody is the
Okay.
definition. And then the benefits we put down,
Great job.
that it allows you to do your job well if you're a good communicator.
Excellent.
And then the behaviors are, where'd we do the behaviors? The behavior
Listen,
of the
engage,
skills. Oh, the
feedback,
4
take it.
steps.
Yeah.
That's right. So the 4 steps will be listening, engaging, giving feedback, and then
Thank you.
salutations like thank you for your help
Okay.
or thank you for your whatever. And then the last one, the performance condition of the skill was any public job where you have to communicate.
Excellent. Okay. Great. How was it coming up with these? Was it challenging? What was your experience like? And okay, so for the sake of time, I guess I'll move on to conversing with others. Anybody and wants to share what they came up with, conversing with others?
Some folks have put some stuff in the chat, Mandea.
Okay. Let me see. I see someone put in the chat asking for help. Responding to feedback. Okay, so for responding to feedback, Holly said active listening to what is said and asking questions to increase understanding. It will help customers to learn how to improve their performance at the work site. Eye contact, asking questions, repeat back, thanks, ask at work and in social settings. Okay, excellent. And I have for Angela, did asking for help, getting their basic needs, which is the name of the skill, definition of the skill, getting something from the nurse station or a message to the doctor, benefits of the skill, that the person feels valued, for behaviors, ask for help when it's not, shift change, talk slow and clear, ask if the person is understood what they're asking, write down what was asked, performance condition, inpatient mental health hospital. Excellent, Angela. Tandon said, name of the skills, introduce yourself, definition of the skill, accurately present your skills and qualification for the position you wish to gain, benefits of the skill, gaining a position you wish to have. The 4 behaviors include identify the skills and experience, identify goal, right, introduction, practice, introduction, and skill condition would be performance condition would be networking or the job. Cass said, for asking for help, expressing your need to perform a job or task to the best of one's ability. The skill will assist in reducing the amount of stress and frustration with given tasks and are difficult to perform with some form of assistance. So we have identified the barriers, identify possible solutions to overcome barriers, practice appropriate approaches of presenting the barrier or solution to management, explain to management they would like to speak with them about something they are struggling with to perform their duties. This is not an environmentally confined skill. Excellent. So all of you came up with great, skills, definition, the name of the skill, the definition, the behaviors, love everything. And I appreciate you taking the time to work so hard on this activity. This I'm just quickly sharing. If you wanted to review it, you're gonna get the slides anyway. So I just want us to talk about how was the experience for everybody doing this activity? Was it one of those things you're like, wow, I didn't think about all of these steps, or was it challenging to keep it into 4 steps? What was easy about the activity and what was challenging about it? Anybody?
Yeah, for me, I did the asking for help and I had to keep my 4 steps. For me, I had to keep them very like broad. I said how, who, what, and timing, because you want to know what you're asking for help with. You want to be clear about that, but you also want to go to the right person, because I know some job sites you don't want to access certain people. They're not there to help others, right? Sometimes
Right.
they match you with somebody who is supposed to be training you. And then the timing of like, is it critical, or is this something you can ask at a different time and you can still get your task done? So staying broad in that, so that the member can also assess that for themselves and learn in real time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And it's Chloe, right? So,
Yes, I'm from Pure Olympia.
thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, so most of our individuals do struggle with, most of them may not struggle with the technical skills part of doing their job, but they may experience that difficulty around soft skills that may unfortunately let them lose their jobs. So being able to support our individuals with simple skills, strategies, and techniques in order to learn how to acquire these soft skills in order to maintain employment long-term and to also enjoy, that work can be possible and positive, and, just be on the job longer than just a month or so, because they've worked so hard to get the job. And soft skills doesn't only start at when they get the job. It's a process from, employment preparation, all of that, all the way to maintaining employment. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that attended today's training. Any questions? Also, I'm going to put up the survey if you could please complete the survey, that would be much appreciated. And I think, Darren, this is you. And then I've also included the name of the Dr. Osler. If you want to reach out to her about the curriculum around soft skills, whether you are interested in teaching it as in groups or with your individuals, and she may be able to have access to her curriculum.
Great additional resources. This has been a great training with all the great dynamic interaction for folks, and using some of the skills that you're sharing with us to put them into action. I think that's always great. It takes me a little bit while to harden those skills and practice, so this was a great way to do it. So Thank you, Mendea. Thank you all for joining Rutgers and DBHR today for the training. This has been very dynamic, and it's great to see everybody participate at really high levels, and hopefully be able to take some of this away as we engage with our job seekers to really help them and understand some of the strengths and minimize those barriers when we're out there doing job development. So definitely we'll send out the slide deck and Word document that was shared today to folks in a follow-up thank you email. Dawn and I are working with Rutgers to kind of look at trainings for, next year, next budget cycle year, starting July 2025. So if you have some ideas that might be helpful to continue the relationship with Rutgers, or some specific things that we can ask them to bring to all of us, it's very valuable as we start planning for the next year. So feel free to reach out and share. And let Dawn and I know, or, let Mendea know as well, after we send out all the thank you stuff. So thank you all today. This has been a great, fabulous training.
Thank you so much for attending. This was excellent. Thank you for all your active participation. And thank you, Darren and Washington State, for having me here today. And
we look forward to the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Mendea, is there like a way to get, people had some really good stuff in the chat with examples. I don't know if there's a way to kind of get some of that. So when we send a thank you thing out, we can.
Yeah, so if you want, I can copy the chat and send it to you. Is
perfect? That would be so helpful. It just looks so dynamic today. I just want to make sure everybody has that for reference.
Yes, it was excellent. I really appreciated everyone's input and active participation.
Yeah. Fantastic job. Can't wait to see you again. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you for your support, Darren.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate that. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too, Beth. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not. Chloe, thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Have a great day. If anybody has any questions, I'm still here. No rush. Just let me know. Or any resource that you think you would like me to share when we send out the materials, I could do that too. And I appreciate all your active participation and contribution.